Welcome, everyone, to the third and final installment of my conversation with the creative and bubbly and lovely Jessy Serrano. I hope you listened to part one and part two first. You'll notice at the end of part two, Jessy talks about her experience with really it's gratitude for the little things, celebrating the little things is what she puts it, but just really appreciating the small things. I mean, to get excited over cream of wheat and a bran muffin. Jessy knew where to put her focus. And I think she did that naturally, but that can be done consciously. That can be a deliberate decision to be made, especially if you practice it, even if it's hard at first. That's something that can be practiced. Because that's something that didn't come naturally for me when I first started on my health journey with my lupus. But for Jessy, I think it was more natural. Her age may have had a part to play in that because her symptoms started at such a young age. I don't know. But the other thing that Jessy brought up is sarcasm. And she talks about that with one of her doctors. I think it was her pediatric neurologist. And, sarcasm really gets a bad rap, and it can be used viciously. Most of the time it is. Most of the time it's used to put someone down and or bring someone up in a position they should not be in. And that's too bad because sarcasm also has an important function, which is when done properly, when done to uplift people's spirits, it can really add levity to a serious situation. And I also found that to be the case when I was seriously ill, that sarcasm, when used to bring up everyone's spirit, not to put anyone's spirit down, um, can really be an important tool. It's taking what is definitely a serious situation that brings the energy down and makes people feel negative and bad or sad or angry or whatever. And it can lighten that load without eliminating it. And Jessy's very good at that. She doesn't put anybody down. So in this next and last installment, part three, with Jessy Serrano, Jessy's going to go into and talk about things she did for volunteering while she was going through healing from her surgery and what she continues to do as she continues to live with a brain tumor. It's not gone. And, she does a really remarkable job of it. And she continues to monitor her own progress. She continues to be seen, but she also continues to make the most of her life. So here you are, part three. This is the Humor and Chaos podcast. I'm Sarah Howard Nelson. Here we go.
So,
Can I ask you about all of your crafting? How does that help you?
oh my goodness. So, that was, I think when I was younger, I had sort of maybe not misplaced, but like displaced creative energy.
Mhm.
Somebody when I was really young gave me a book of origami. And I was like, well, now I know what origami is. This wasn't very popular, when I was 7. I was like, oh, I'm going to read up on this. And it came with all the paper, and I was making all the little easy ones. And then somebody gave me a very assorted container of beads.
Mhm.
And it was to the point I used it so much that I could like identify beads and like be like, oh, the last time I saw that green bead was over here, this quadrant of this round bin. And I go, boop, 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 there's my green bead. I found it. So I spent a lot of time with it. And, I just I didn't have much of a direction outside of the crafts that I learned at the daycare that I was going to after school. I say daycare, it was an after school care. I was cool. I was an older
Mhm.
kid. Um I didn't need daycare anymore. Um, and we didn't have always the resources for it. I didn't go get, we had, everyone calls them something different, but like those beads that like you make a picture and then you iron it and they melt together,
Mm-hmm.
fused beads, perler beads. I would do those when I was at camp. And then I would go home and be like, well, I don't know where you get that. But I made bracelets. I made so many bracelets. And then my friend taught me a different way of making a friendship bracelet. I'm going to make so many bracelets. And I still do. And then after I got to my new high school, the year to my next year, my junior year, I learned how to crochet.
Mm-hmm.
I had tried taking a sewing class before I did at that point have a sewing machine, and I did a couple things on that. I did take a knitting class once, didn't really take to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I sure did try, and I knew how to hand sew. And at that point, the crocheting, I think, was probably just the perfect set of circumstances. I was old enough and had the patience and the dexterity in my hands and needed that energy to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been, one of the greatest things that I have learned as a skill, because it's a portable, as long as you're not making anything big, which means that it goes with me to the waiting room. I did go one time, I think before I learned to crochet, and I brought like a little tiny sewing kit with me to a waiting room. I'm gonna do something with it. I'm gonna do something with it. There's so much you have to, like, holding a tiny needle, a sewing needle in a waiting room of an MRI. It's not very practical.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas getting to take a ball of yarn and take a hook and make a penguin, make a hat, make and anything I was making at the time, just we would probably consider it now a form of grounding,
Mm-hmm.
because it was something that I knew I could rely on when we got there, because we're always early to these appointments, and then they make you wait, which means we're even earlier. There's even more time. And it just, I had, even if I wasn't working on it, and I'll still do this all very often, I'll just pick up the crochet hook and I'll just hold it, like I'm gonna start crocheting. I'm like, I'm not gonna have time. I don't want to pull up all this yarn and then put it all back, but I'll just hold on to it. And it's something to look forward to. It's something to hold on to. And it's a bright spot. I'm very rarely not absolutely elated when I'm crocheting. Um,
I've
when I
noticed.
was, hmm?
I've noticed that. Yeah.
It's a very happy hobby, and I haven't created stress around it. Like, I don't sell my crochet stuff, because then I'd have to worry about it.
Mm.
If I've made it and somebody goes, "Oh, I want that," then sure, we'll talk about it. But I don't want to create that stress around it, because so many people now are like, "I found this hobby. Let's make it a side gig." We're not going to talk about my side gig right now. I have one, a different hobby.
Yeah, I know.
We're
But let me ask you, because while you were at that high school,
Mhm.
my daughter, your sister-in-law, also got a little bit involved in it with you. You also helped. You had a teacher at that school who organized making blankets for kids in hospitals, and you took
Yes.
part in that.
So I had not heard of this organization before. It's just, anyone listening who doesn't know, it's called Project Linus. As in Linus from the Peanuts, he's always got his blanket with him. Um, and it's we had to learn our spiel. So it is where I learned to crochet, was part of that organization. But I ended up taking, so our local chapter is run out of that high school.
Mhm.
And, so like I think she's still doing English there, but she's an English teacher, and also just runs a chapter of a nonprofit organization, just like that. So she was already doing what we call make a blanket days, where the community can come in and bring their fabric. And sometimes, I mean, it's different now. I know the structure's a little bit different now, but they would bring their stuff and we would say, here's how you're going to make a blanket. Because there are specifications that we, pretty rigorous, because it's for kids in hospitals or kids in traumatic situations. There was some trauma that happened at a local elementary school here a little bit before I became involved. And I mean, every single kid, at least in the grade where this happened, received a blanket from our Project Linus. So there are things to be considerate of. We can't just take like, oh, this is a used blanket that was in my closet. It's got to be new. It's handmade, so that it's a hug. Yeah. It's got that extra love injected into it. And other like specifications that aren't as much as, it's got to be new and it's got to be full of love. And I found out about this, and it pulled me way back to when I'd gotten that quilt when I was sitting in my hospital bed. And so I really got to be on both sides of that transaction. I mean, I say transaction loosely. This isn't transactional, but
yeah.
Of
it's
this,
a gift to those kids, yes.
Yeah, the exchange of this, I got to be on both sides of it. And I told my teacher, so she made it a class where we learned how to run some of the daily things of this chapter. Plus, we learned the skills to make the blankets and then teach. So you learned how to sew on a tag that said Project Linus on it. You learned how to use a rotary cutter to cut the fabric, so that if we got a big order of fabric, we cut it down to the appropriate size. We would use we would punch holes in it and then crochet out the side of it. We were making almost like the tied fleece blanket, but we weren't tying it together because it's too thick, so we were flipping it, and that's what we were teaching people how to do.
Yep.
But I did get to tell my teacher when we were in that class, like, this is incredibly personal, and I'm so grateful to know that this exists. I'm fairly sure that my blanket did not come from Project Linus. It's possible that it was an adjacent, similar, group of people, maybe a church, donated a quilt or whatever, but it was similar in nature. Because we did accept quilts. Cotton is very easy to give to anybody. And we were taking a lot of kinds of blankets. So I put a lot of volunteer time into Project Linus. One, just because it was enjoyable. I got to, my teacher would be like, you need to go take a break. We'd be at the mall all day teaching people how to craft. I'm like, no, I don't need a break. I'm good. I'm happy. Thank you. Please go have lunch or something. No,
I was there one time when that interaction happened, remember? Because Lana was there too. I saw it, and I saw her go, yes, you need to go have some lunch. You were very bubbly and happy to be there and keeping everybody working, and there were blankets all over the section.
All over. I mean, we were taking up one end of the mall, top and bottom floor. I ended up even bringing myself an apron because, we were giving a bunch of different materials that people needed. So I started putting the scissors and the seam rippers and the little cutting guides that we had. And I had my pockets full. We had tape. I had tape all up my arms, and the rolls of tape just going up my arm like a bracelet. Like, what do you need? You want some tape? Here, have some tape. You need different scissors? Here, I'll trade these out. Have my scissors. Take this seam ripper. Oh, you're done with your guide? I don't want you to lose it. Give that back to me. And I'm going up and down this escalator like nobody's business. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because ultimately when I started working for Santa, that same side of the mall was where I was working with Santa. I was like, I am very familiar with this wing of the mall. Spent a lot of time over here. Eventually they gave us like a back room that we could use for the day. So like, it's like the backstage, of the mall, and this is where the stores have some of their extra stock. We're like, oh, I get to go back here. And it's nothing to aspire to. It's dingy, and that's being complimentary. but also part of the reason I spent so much time volunteering there was because it's just, it was so easy to feel the effect. I mean, it was almost instantaneous. If you had just, before everything that I went through, if you just showed me a picture of that quilt, then like, ooh, somebody sure did make that. It's something. But receiving it was instant love. Like it was almost like a magic charm was over it, where you see people kind of get like a love spell put on them and they're all like glowy and pink and hard eyes. Like it was like that instant. They gave it to me and I was like, someone made this and now it's in my hands. And knowing that, our blankets, we also had, we had bigger blankets for, kid sizes, but we also had smaller blankets going out to preemies in the NICU. I eventually came to know somebody else who said, oh, you do that? That's weird, because when our baby was in the NICU as a preemie, one day we came in and there was a little blanket over her that had the Project Linus tag on it. I was like, that's us. I mean, I don't think it was our chapter, but that's us. And now, I mean, they've kind of changed the structure of how things are going, but they're still doing twice a year. They do a make a blanket day workshop, and it's even great because the kids in the community who have to go get volunteer service hours, but might be too young for most of the traditional opportunities. We give them service hours for making blankets.
And they're trained well and they're not difficult.
Absolutely not. They're very easy to learn. We even accept, if we have a kid who already knows, or maybe was taught by a family member, every blanket they bring in, they get 1 hour. It's signed off on. I was signing off on papers if I could,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't often. I think I think only maybe once or twice, if that, I was authorized to sign it. But I was really in it at that point.
That's cool.
So it I mean, there's the personal crafting, but that one is volunteer crafting, and it's volunteering for such important things.
Yes,
you know
because it's scary for kids, especially going into a hospital.
and not all of them get to have their family there all the time.
Like
you
you
know
did.
we were regularly breaking the visitor rules. We would very often have more than two people in my room at a time, and the nurse would walk by and just go, just don't get too loud. Be like, you got it. And so many kids have to go through something so much scarier and have to go to the hospital all the time or live there for months, and just getting to be part of making, so I'd say like a handmade hug.
Mhm.
Just getting to make that and make sure that somebody gets it. We have the different prints and be like, oh man, I hope they show this one's got soccer balls all over it. I hope a soccer kid gets this. I hope he sees that and goes, that's oh, I love that one.
Mhm.
um I did all 4 semesters that were available of that class, and the semester that we were set to graduate, because there were a few of us graduating that semester, she had some of the younger students make us blankets. So I also got like not just a chance blanket, but a very much like, people were asked, hey, what is this person like? Hey, tell me about this person's interests. Um, if we weren't asked directly, and I got a blanket that was themed for me and had my favorite colors. And I wasn't much of a crier. I really wasn't a crier before my surgery. I've been more emotional since then, but whoo, there were some tears in my eyes that day. Um,
Nice.
Continues to mean something.
That's important. So let's talk about your side business. Or you're not ready for that yet.
No, we can absolutely do that.
You
So
took your crafting into an area that does not include your crochet. As you said, the crochet is personal.
yes, I did just make a cow, and I gave it away. I just gave it away because I can't, it's nothing I can replicate. I'm kind of a one and done sort of crafter, but my side hustle, my hobby turned income stream is primarily I'm making jewelry. Within that, mostly earrings, because they're just so much fun. There's a sort of thrill of finding a pair of something, in my infinite stores of supplies, looking through a bunch of charms and be like, oh, I have two of those. That's an earring. um, and it all started from a gift. One of my friend's moms said, hey, um, I don't really want to do jewelry anymore. Do you want this stuff? And I'm not one to turn down perfectly good crafting supplies. And she had a lot. It was a couple of, I mean, really nicely organized little bins and little beads, and I've expanded on that a lot. Her original collection, I mean, I've probably got about 10 times that
Oh, wow.
now. Mm-hmm.
Is there room in your tiny apartment?
It's We're working on it. My work desk is somewhat functional for making jewelry. I have made some pieces. Um, Looking over at it right now, it's working. It's doing what it can. Um, but that's my bit. I've named my company Perpetually Confused
I
because
love.
I it's great. um, I was there was something I was for our talk today. There was something I was putting in. I think I put it in as perpetual humor, confused chaos. I was like, just gonna blend our little names together. Um, but partially I wanted to do that because I kind of wanted to cover all my bases. I didn't want to be like, oh, perpetual jewelry or like confused crochet, because I want to be able to take it wherever I want it to go. Just let it, I started, I was making, things that I thought were more traditional or things that I thought were going to go better. I was making necklaces that in hindsight, it was good to learn the skill. They really didn't work as functional jewelry. Um, and I've made some earrings that I didn't love, and now I love almost every pair that I make. But I also make keychains, and I've tried to make little like rear view mirror hangers. So not to be limited to only, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, done. Just I want to be able to branch out. I there were a couple of times I threw a couple of watercolor bookmarks onto my table. I mean, like, eventually, like if somebody buys something, I'll be like, hey, you want that free bookmark? I was playing around. I'm perpetually confused. I don't know what I'm doing. And I will regularly have people, even if they're not, my stuff is very stylized. It's wacky and colorful, and
Yeah.
people are often not looking for that. But they will still stop and go, watch them kind of silently read my sign, go, perpetually confused. Yeah, me too. Say, yep, that's why I chose the name, because it's the truth.
And you got a thing for ducks too, which I love. I think that's cute.
Thank you. And it's a very, it's all joy. If anybody does stop at my, when I do a pop-up event, and they'll stop at my table and I'll say, I make what makes me happy. This is in no way a lucrative venture for me. That I fully accept. I When I go to a pop-up, it's more that I want to share what I've made, because I want what I've made to have somewhere to go. I want it to have a home. If I make money off of that, that's even better. But I have, like we mentioned, I have a full-time job. I'm going to survive off of that, and I'm going to have fun with my side gig.
That's great. That's great.
Oh, and stickers. I also do stickers.
I love your latest sticker designs. I hope that goes somewhere. I think they're amazing. I don't know if you want to share them on here or not. That's up to you, but I think they're amazing. I really
Oh,
do.
I absolutely can, because it all ties in. So, as often as I'm at the doctor, as kids, they have, you can sort of picture the sticker. It's some probably slightly outdated cartoon character with any random quote on it. You know, I've had Dora the Explorer telling me, "Good job." Like, thank you, Dora. It helps actually. It does boost morale a little bit to get just that, that silly little thing at the end, sort of put a nice bow on it. Whatever has happened in your day, like you got through it. You got through your doctor visit. So I was seeing this sentiment echoed back at me on, my daily scrolling on the internet, people being like, why don't adults get stickers at the doctor? Why can't I go to the treasure box of the dentist? Or somebody being like, oh yeah, this is my 16-year-old. He's 6'4". He still wants a sticker though. The nurse being like, well, do you want Avengers or Paw Patrol? Like, nobody's going to question that. So, for those who might be a little more discerning, who might not want to choose Paw Patrol, I made a rather tortured looking smiley face. This guy, I tried to give him little dark circles under his eyes and a really watery smile, but it says, I was brave at the doctor today, or I was brave at the dentist today. So I have a couple. I am open to suggestions. If you'd like a sticker for anywhere that you're being brave, I will make you a sticker. My goal is to get these on the very classic, roll of stickers that they sit by the nurse's desk and they go, here's your little sticker, sweetie. My goal is to get that in at least one doctor's office that I go to.
Oh, I am certain that the dentist I go to right now would take a roll. I'm positive.
I have been going to my dentist for as long as I can remember. So I'm definitely also going to ask her, because they have little fun stuff and they know me and they know that I do this. And like, hey, do you think any of the adults that come here would like these stickers? Because I remember when I stopped going to the treasure box, I was sad. I was also like 12, but I still wanted my little cheap bracelet or my bouncy ball.
I still want them too.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s. Come on.
They're just that like I think there's a brand, some like first aid kit brand, and they don't call them band-aids or bandages. They call them bravery badges.
Oh.
And that's kind of, I don't think I can take that anymore. I think that they might have trademarked it or something, but that's essentially what I've made, a little bravery badge. It's like, you did it. Good job. We all just want that little affirmation, and I would love to just see that. And they're the ones that I've made, they're that very bright candy color, but they're simple.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody licensed is on it. You don't have to worry about wearing a Mickey Mouse sticker when you go back to work. It's fine, but like, I know most people who vote very happily put on the I voted sticker afterwards. It's rather incentivizing. I know I will not touch mine until my ballot is completely submitted because I am truthful. now I have voted. Now I put on the sticker. So just having that affirmation. I'm gonna get those out there. If, I'm gonna look for somewhere I can maybe manufacture a roll of them. And if not, I'll try to get like a stack of them and happy to send you some over.
Please do. Please do. I'll not only wear them for myself, but I'll take them around and see, because I know for sure the dentist will. I get along really well with the office staff at my dentist, and they will think those are adorable.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I am very willing to share that. Let's make a movement. We're brave.
We are brave. You and me with our chronic health conditions.
Yes.
We know. We know.
I don't remember if I did show you, but I did end up making the one that says I was brave at the lab today, and it's red because when I go to the lab, it's a blood draw.
Blood drop.
So it is a red one, and I was brave at the lab today.
I'll see what I can do for that, because that's what I go to the most is labs. I would like that. I would actually like
Mhm.
I get pretty proud of myself when I brave that needle.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Absolutely. The the day that they get it. I've had some, just a little side note, I had to do some tests the other day that was going to involve, I think, 5 needle sticks, and we couldn't even get the initial draw to start the test.
Oh my.
That started, I think, over an hour late. And I had like 3 people in there attending to me because like 2 of them were learning and one of them was teaching them. And they were all like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. These are my bad veins. Like I we've poked you so many times now. I'm like, I know you have. It hurts. What did I get for it? A couple of bandages and hot water. It was, oh, I totally forgot. See, I didn't put it on the outline. I forgot about it. I mentioned that before my surgery, I got my neon orange fingernails
Yes.
in the hospital. One person came in to, do something to me and brought in the same neon orange colored tourniquet, like elastic tourniquet, to do something. And I was like, oh, wow, look how well that matches. Like, oh, do you want it? Like, what am I going to do with it afterward? I was like, yeah, this is funny. We'll tie it to the side of the bed. We'll compare it to my nails. It's great. Every other nurse who went in there said, where did you get this? We don't have that color on this ward. It's like, it was some kind of color fate. I don't know what. I held on to it for a very long time just to be like, this was funny. I think all the other ones were like blue or black. Like there was nothing remotely like this highlighter orange.
But and you know this, and I know this, when you're going through these really tough times, you need that humor. It
Mm-hmm.
it helps so much.
It does. It because it's just that levity, the little moment of, huh, that's funny. That little, I would have that. I had one, I want to say she was a nurse. She had a couple different badges. She came in, she's like, I hear we're having trouble with your veins. Came in, drew Dennis the Menace on my whiteboard, and then very successfully and very quickly drew my blood.
There you go.
And I was like, why Dennis the Menace? And he was up there the rest of the time I was there. And that was just another one of those moments where we were like, huh,
Mhm.
good stuff, good stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so important. And I think it's kind of also what I mean by like you got to find a little victory. It's you also got to find a little humor. You got to be willing to laugh with somebody or maybe at yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
perfectly okay to do so and encouraged, honestly.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is. And you were right when you said brings a little levity. It's almost like the atmosphere can get so heavy and yet just something a little funny can bring in like a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm. And I think it could potentially even help people around you, which if you are in a place where you're the one that needs help, you are not in charge of other people's feelings. I want to say that out front. But, if you are in the situation, let's just say like this, like you're in the hospital, you're the one being hospitalized. Some people might not know how to approach this. What the level of gravity is of this. And that was something I really tried to impart, as much as I could talk to family, in between naps and stuff. Be like, the gravity is not that serious, and finding that humor and being able to share it sort of does release that tension, release that, oh, okay, so we are allowed to laugh. We're not
Mhm.
being professional mourners at what's happening.
Right.
We're allowed to have a little fun, poke a little laugh out of you, and it's okay.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think we're coming to the end, right?
I think so.
So, do you have any last little bit of advice for anyone who is younger like you were and has these strange symptoms, or a parent or caregiver who has a child who's going through these strange symptoms and they don't know what's going on and they don't know if they need to be worried, or the child is older child enough to hear this or whatever, is like Something's nagging at me in the back of my mind of what's happening. Do you have any bit of advice for them on how to get through that period while still enjoying life like you did? Because I know you did because my son was dating you.
Yeah, we had a grand time, but I mean, when it comes to, any little that little nag, I mean, I sat on my theory, like I said, was absolutely baseless, but I sat on it. And I can't say there was a regret, right? Because the professionals were on this case.
Yes.
But I think if you're, the age that I was by that time, be like, okay, I understand that you're the professional, but I have this feeling about this, or this just doesn't seem right. Say it. Absolutely say it, and ask for as much clarification as you want. I even, back to when my pediatrician said you have scoliosis, kind of went, uh-huh. In my head, I was like, I know I've heard the word before, but I don't, like, am I dying of scoliosis? I don't know what this means. And you can absolutely just say, hey, can you explain that like I'm six? You know, explain it to me like in whatever level you want to choose. Give me the two sentence answer on what that is, or or if you're gonna say, hey, this doesn't seem right to me. You know, people have told me X, but I still don't think X is true.
Mhm.
The body has a way of informing you, and granted, the body can be faulty, the brain can be faulty, but it has a way of informing you. And you are absolutely valid for asking and pursuing that. Just say, okay, you said it's not, why not? If this is ongoing, like it's something I should have done millions of years ago, start a journal. And I don't mean like the traditional journal, but start an appointments journal. Today, I saw Dr. Smith, and she told me XYZ because of this. This was the big word that she used. Don't be afraid to take notes while you are in it. If you get the little printout afterwards, fold it in half, tape it in so you can see it. Keep as many notes and records as you need to keep it straight, and to have that, never feel like you don't know and you can't ask. You don't want to be telling somebody, oh, well, I think they said this. I don't know. I don't know what they meant, and now I'm just kind of here waiting. Especially now that as adults, as caregivers, a lot of things they might assume. They might assume that if somebody told me today at the age of 27 you have scoliosis, they're gonna assume that I know. But if I don't know, or if my doctor had just said blah 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 tumor ventricle, I'd be like, am I where in my heart? Like bring that back up, like get that clarity, take those notes, make sure that you are heard and that you understand, because you are there to be treated. Now, as caretakers, it I did see the moments when it was hard on my parents, but they did the best that they could to make it so that I wasn't, I wasn't managing them. I tried to anyway, because that's how I am, that's how I operate. But trying your best to have the strong front. If you're gonna pull somebody up, you give them a strong arm and you hold it, even if you're slipping on the gravel behind you. And then you can go take a breather once you've pulled them up.
Mhm.
Get your own support system, because you're going to have to be, as the caretaker, you're going to have to be a support. My mom probably got her hand squished more than once, because she'd go to the lab with me and be like, just grab my hand, you can squeeze it. Like, okay, I'm gonna hold your hand, I'm gonna hold your hand really tight. But then she had places that she could go afterwards, whether it's family or friends or a close coworker who is a friend, that you could go to. And eventually, I think my family became that because we had a couple of people in our life who ended up in a similar situation with similar diagnoses for their kids. And we got to, give them what we knew, give them our advice, and be the support to the support.
Yeah, get your own support system as well. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Like, you don't want to be a unicycle. You don't even want this to be like a bicycle situation. You want a good tricycle at least.
Minimum.
Have a good strong base to be able to support whoever it is that needs support at any moment.
Yes. Yes. I think that is very key. And as you said before, celebrate any victory, big or small. I think
Yes.
it's also incredibly important. All of them.
I mean, this is going to be my 12th year post surgery this July. And I will still, the day it comes up, I'll be like, hey, 12-year anniversary of my surgery, everybody. It's, almost irrelevant at this point, but it's been 12 years and I'm still kicking. And that is a small victory.
And I celebrate every year of my lupus anniversary diagnosis, April 15th, also tax day. And I celebrated this year too, every year.
Also our anniversary.
It's
a good day.
It's a great day. It's a great day because every year is it's another reason to be joyful.
It is. Finding it everywhere that you can.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, Jessy, I am overjoyed you are in my family.
I am very happy to be in yours. I remember maybe not the first day that I met you because I was nervous, but after like the second and third time really getting to know you, I was like, man, I could have had one of those stereotypical, evil witchy stepmothers, and I sure don't. And I am so happy.
Thank you. Good. Good. I try my best to keep my nose up.
No, you're fantastic. I always know I can talk to you. It's great.
Jessy, thank you so much for sharing your story. You really went in depth even more than what I knew, and I already knew a lot. You really shared your heart.
There are always details, I could probably have a whole video of, hey, listen to this. If you want to fall asleep, I'll tell you my entire story. So, I'm always happy to share and, answer questions and give advice.
Thank you. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It's the Humor and Chaos podcast with Jessy Serrano, my daughter-in-law, who I just adore. And if you or someone you know would be a great guest on this podcast, hit me up at my email, humorinchaos@gmail.com. And you can find this podcast on, I got to think of where I have it all, the Humor and Chaos podcast on YouTube, on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and at my website, www.humorinchaos.com. So again, thank you so much, Jessy. You're amazing. You really are.
Thank you. I'm so honored to have been on the pod today, and I wish you the best with all of your future guests.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And that, my friends, is the last of my conversation with Jessy Serrano. I don't know if you saw it on YouTube or heard it in my voice, but it was hard not to have tears in my eyes. Not because I'm sad, I'm not sad. Not because I'm worried, I'm not really worried, but because I'm so proud of Jessy. It helps, of course, that she's a member of the family, but Jessy has really shown the way for people on how to navigate something so serious like this. And she has an ability to touch people that is just absolutely remarkable. So I hope you got that. Yeah, I hope she's brought hope to, especially to parents who have children that are struggling with chronic illnesses. Look at that. See, I have tears now, just remembering the conversation, having listened to it again. So anyway, if you want to find Jessy online, you can find her at Perpetually Confused on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to join up with Project Linus, they have chapters throughout the United States, and you can find them at www.projectlinus.org. And as Jessy told you, being given a blanket while she was going in the midst of all that, it really touched her. So I think it's an important mission. So, and I am Sarah Howard Nelson. This is the Humor in Chaos podcast. I am a resilience coach. My lupus brain fog, I tell you. I'm a resilience coach, certified life coach, certified art therapy practitioner. See, there's another tongue twister. And if you or if someone you know would be a wonderful guest on the Humor in Chaos podcast, please give me a shout out at humorinchaos@gmail.com or look me up at www.humorinchaos.com. Yeah, there's another tier. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful day and be sure to stay tuned. On Tuesdays, we've got more wonderful guests coming out. Thank you and have a wonderful day.